Daydreamaholic by C. Don McCallum. Chapter 12. Marcie pulled her blanket up over her head. The sunlight was creeping over the edge of the world and right into her bedroom window. Why did I have to get the bedroom on this side of the house, she thought, hoping the alarm wouldn't buzz again for at least another few minutes. Just as she was drifting back into dreamland, her mom knocked on the door. Marcie, how many times are you going to hit the snooze button? You're going to be late for school, honey. Reality rushed through her veins. She jolted up and looked at the clock. 7:30, Marcie shrieked. Her heart almost jumped out of her chest. Why did you let me sleep so long? Calm down, you still have time. 30 minutes is plenty of time to get to school, her mom said, turning on the closet light and heading out the door. But I need to rehearse my monologue, she called after her mom. She flung her blankets back. Her feet hit the floor and headed toward her closet. Her hands went straight to her favorite outfit. Pulling it off the hanger, she wondered if it would be too flirty. After all, both Brandon and Tabitha were going to be there to see her monologue. Well, I'm not still trying to impress him. He asked Tabitha to the dance. Holding the dress up to herself in front of the mirror, she thought, and I really like this outfit. What's wrong with wanting to look my best? I am going to be standing in front of a lot of people. She looked at the piles of shoes scattered around the bottom of her closest and dug out the ones that go with her dress. Then she heard her own voice speaking from the reflection in the mirror. Everyone's going to think that you're dressing up just so Brandon will notice you, Coach Marcie warned. Marcie kicked one of the black clogs back toward the closet. She was about to kick the other one back too when a thought crossed her mind. What do I care what they think? She picked up the shoes she thought was so cute she had saved up to buy it in brown too. All that matters is that I do a good job on my monologue, and I'm going to knock them dead. Then she turned to Coach Marcie. As for you, she said to the nosy reflection, yeah, you can just leave me alone. What? Her coach protested. You heard me. You're worse than my little brother. Now go away, she commanded, waving an invisible magic wand. The reflection shrugged and went back to its copycat work. With a smile on her face, she grabbed her other shoe off the floor of the closet, pulled the dress off the hanger, and threw it on the closet floor. She rushed to the bathroom to plug in her curling iron and turn on the shower. As the steam just started to rise around her, Marcie took a look in the mirror to make sure her reflection was behaving itself. Seeing that it was, she said to herself, "Don't worry about them. I'm going to look my best no matter what they think about me. I'm going to do my best, and I'm not going to let my fears get in my way." Marcie pulled back the shower curtain, stepped into the shower, and a brand new day. Marcie smoothed down the pages of her monologue lying in her lap. Kids sat all around outside, laughing and eating their lunches. She was lucky to have found the prime piece of real estate for peace and quiet, right under the big pecan tree. The wind kept trying to pick up her hard work and carry it over to the squirrels chattering on the other side of the commons area, but that paper wasn't going anywhere if Marcie could help it. She had worked too long and hard on it. Besides, her theater arts class was right after lunch, and she wasn't about to blow it at the last minute. Also, she hoped Sammy wasn't too mad at her avoiding her all day to work on her assignment. The words of her monologue kept running through her mind as she looked across the commons area. Whenever she came to a place where she couldn't remember what she was supposed to say next, she glanced down at her page, which was becoming less and less necessary. I'm getting this, Marcie thought, feeling more and more confident with each run through. She wished she had started working on this sooner, though. But I can't let that worry me now, she thought. I have 15 minutes until lunch is over. I can go over it again a couple more times. Marcie tried to block out the noises around her, the cars cruising behind the school, the chattering of students enjoying their after-lunch free time in the sun, the tree leaves bristling above her as she leaned against its trunk. The sounds were a trickling background to the words that repeated themselves again and again in her mind. you're doing a great job," someone said. She looked up and saw a little bird hopping toward her. "Considering you got such a late start," the bird said. "Ah, thanks, but," she said, then thought better of having an imaginary conversation with an animal. Go away. She was a recovering daydreamaholic after all. She looked back at her paper. "I really got it," she thought. It turns out one of the benefits of writing what she knew about is that it's a whole lot easier to memorize something you think about all the time already. Feeling comfortable with herself, Marcie took a minute to clear her mind, to relax. She sat up straight, took a deep breath, stretched her legs out in front of her, and, "Oh no," Marcie said out loud. The group of kids sitting a few feet away looked over at her. They laughed. They couldn't have noticed what was wrong from that far away. They must think she's crazy, talking to herself. Blushing, Marcie smiled. "Sorry," she said, faking a laugh. "Just working on my monologue." She held up her paper as her evidence and pretended to look at it again. But her head felt like it was going to explode. Her heart was beating a mile a minute. Over the corner of her paper, she glanced down at what she thought she had seen. It was true. Marcie had on one brown shoe and one black shoe. "How could I have done that?" Marcie demanded. She rolled her eyes and tried to take a deep breath, but it just wouldn't come. She looked at the clock. She still had 5 minutes. Maybe she could call her mom or dad and have them bring the other black shoe. Maybe she could hide out in the bathroom for the rest of the day. Maybe she could pretend to be sick. She practically was already. Heart attacks count, don't they? But there was no way her parents would let her get away with any of those options. "Suck it up," they'd say. "Learn from your mistakes." Marcie curled her feet up under her. "Well, the way I'm going these days, I'll be another Albert Einstein by the end of the school year," she thought. "How can I face the whole class like this?" She could see herself walking down the hallway, kids point and laughing as she made her way to class. So stunned by the humiliation, she'd completely forget her monologue that she'd spent so much time at the last minute working on. She would just stand in front of the whole class, Brandon and Tabitha included. "I love Brandon James," she'd say like one of the living dead. "What's up with your shoes?" somebody would scream. "I love Brandon James." "Didn't you do your monologue?" Mrs. Lopez would ask in that wispy voice of hers. "I love Brandon James." Everyone would fall out of their chairs. They would laugh so hard. She could see it now. "Stop it, Marcie," she told herself. "Maybe there's something I can do. There has to be something." Would Mrs. Lopez understand? Could I get her to let me go tomorrow? Would she let me hide somewhere in her room until the day's over? I can just hear Tabitha laughing her head off. She'll make sure Brandon notices. She's going to have a field day with this one. Marcie's face was feeling hotter than ever. She wanted to cry. She wasn't about to, though, because she didn't want the other kids to see her upset. That would just draw more attention to her, and that's the last thing she wanted. Then they'd definitely notice that her shoes didn't match if they hadn't already. I've got to go to the restroom and calm down. I can't let them see me like this. Standing up, stray particles of dirt lined the backs of her knees. In 2 quick movements, Marcie brushed the dirt away and strode off to the restroom, trying to get there as fast as she could without bursting into tears. Thank you for listening to Daydreamaholic by C. Don McCallum. If you're enjoying this story, please consider sharing it with someone you know, and please like the video and subscribe to this channel to help others discover these stories.